Well, welcome to another captivating episode of Heart to Heart. If you enjoy the content we're bringing you on this channel, don't hesitate to hit that subscribe button, give us a thumbs up, and ring the notification bell to stay up to date with our latest episodes. Well, today we have the pleasure of hosting an incredible, amazing couple from across the globe, y'all, like across the globe, all the way from Kenya. All right, Kenya, Africa. Sylvia and Koree Bichanga are here with us. Yes, they're here with us. And they're here to share their remarkable journey. I can't wait for you all to hear it. They run a successful YouTube channel, so go ahead and subscribe, and where they offer glimpse into their everyday life, adventures, amazing adventures, and so much more. So I can't wait to dive in and talk to you guys. How are you doing?
We are doing very, very good.
Yes,
Fabulous, yes.
we're doing good.
Awesome. And you're looking amazing. You're looking amazing. Um,
Oh, thank
so Yes. Sylvia and Corey, I want you guys to kind of bring us back into your childhood, so our viewers, our listeners can have a good picture of where you came from, your upbringing. Because I know, Sylvia, I know that you're an American raised in the Amish church, and later on,
Yes.
you did mission work in Kenya, which you're gonna dive into even more. But just tell us a little bit about your background, your childhood, um, your upbringing.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so I was born and raised in the USA, and I was raised in a culture called Amish,
Mm.
where their main focus and their main goal is to be separate from the world. And so they do a lot of things that don't really make sense if you think of American life as in like they don't allow the use of cars. They use horses and buggies. They don't have electricity. They don't allow cell phones. So they live like 1800s. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's how I grew up. That's the culture I grew up in, is very primitive living.
Mm.
Um, and then we left the Amish as a family when I
Yeah.
was 12 years old, and then we went through like all the shunning where we weren't welcome back home to like my grandparents' place.
Oh.
We weren't allowed to come home for holidays. They wouldn't eat with us or accept anything from us. Um, so we went through a hard time, but we joined the Mennonite church, which is a lot like the Amish, but they allow more of the modern conveniences. And they're also very much known for mission work. So, yeah, that's kind of how we then got to Kenya. Yeah.
Wow. So do you have any siblings, or um how big
Yes,
is
I
your
have one
family?
older sister. I have one older sister and I have three younger brothers. There's twins following right after me and then a younger brother after them. Yeah.
Wow. That's incredible. So are you guys still in touch with the Amish community at all?
Yeah, we are actually. It took them about 20 years, but they are now warming up to us, and we're more welcome to come back. Yeah,
Well, I'm
so
glad.
we can now go back for like at least to visit them and to spend time with my grandma, and yeah,
Wow, I'm glad you guys were able to work it out, and rekindle that relationship. So because family is involved. So
right.
Corey, let's hear from you. How was your upbringing? How was your childhood? Tell us about your family.
Mine it's very, very simple. I was brought up. I was born and raised in Kisumu, the city that we are in. And as much as I'm a Kisi,
Mm,
Kisii, it's just the neighboring town with Kisumu town. We are like neighbors, different tribes.
mm.
So this is where I was brought up, and this is where I came to find my wife. So
Wow,
even just going to school, it was just everything I did was in Kisumu city.
that's awesome. So I'm curious to know how far is Kisumu from Nairobi?
It's about 6 hours drive.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Wow.
but by flight it's around 45 minutes flight.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So, Sylvia, I also wanted to know about your educational background. Like, any significant, do you have any significant experiences during your school years that you want to share?
Um, well, for the Amish, they don't usually have more education than eighth grade, which would be just before high school. So that is what the education that I got, and I can say education isn't really a huge focus for the Amish people. It's more about getting into the family business and starting to make your own money, because oftentimes Amish will marry very young. They'll be
Yeah.
married by the time they're 17, 18 years old. Um, so they start really young to make their own money. To get married is kind of the more of the focus rather than an education. So I only went to eighth grade. Yeah.
Wow. That's I didn't know that. You educating me right now because I look at you. Yes, I look at you. I look at your life. I mean, it's amazing. Some of the things you guys are doing are amazing. And so let's move on to the journey to Kenya. So you said you left the Amish community and then you moved to Kenya. So talk to us about it.
Yeah, we were with the Mennonite community. My dad had a storage shed business. We were just going about our merry lives and had no plans of coming to Kenya. And then a mission called my dad and asked him, "Would you guys commit to go to Kenya for 2 years?" And he asked, "Well, what would we be doing?" And he said, "You'll be stationed as a pastor at a local church, and you and your family will be given housing and food. You just need to basically volunteer your time." I think dad was paid maybe like $50 a month or something, but it was volunteer service. It was like you were volunteering your time and then they gave you housing and food.
Mm,
So yeah, that's how we came over here. They paid our tickets, our flights to come over here and work for their mission, where we were given a crash course on the local language, Luo, and we did that for 6 weeks. And he started taking care of this church and preaching and teaching. And me and my three younger brothers came along. My older sister stayed at home because by then she was married and had two girls.
okay.
So it was just me and my three younger brothers that came with my parents. And we ended up actually, if you stayed for 2 years, you got to go home for a month and then come back and serve another year. So that's what we did. Um, we took the furlough, went home for a month, saw family, friends, and then came back for another year. Yeah.
Wow. So what was it like when you arrived, when you first footstep in Kenya? Did
I,
you have any, was there a culture
I
shock? Tell us about that day.
very much, very much. I remember landing in Nairobi, and it was during the night, and I was just amazed how everything was. It
Mm,
actually reminded me, the closest thing I could compare it with was Florida, because of the palm trees and the city life and whatever. But then when we came to Kisumu, I would say is more where the actual culture shock hit. But
yeah.
already the traffic in Nairobi was a lot to take in. Like there's constantly someone honking, and and the speed bumps were everywhere, and I had a headache and I felt like throwing up because I was
Oh,
not used to all the speed bumps.
yeah,
So it was, cows walking on the road. I was shocked that there's cows and goats laying on the road, and I was also shocked by the modernism.
yeah,
We are showing a certain picture about Africa, about
yeah,
Kenya and those countries. So I was also shocked about how nice the roads are, how they have skyscrapers, they have like it's a modern world over here that we're not showing. So I was equally shocked with that. Yeah.
yeah. Well, and that's one thing that I love about your channel is you show all these beautiful places. You know, you make me want to go to Kenya now. Like that. Kenya, yes, Kenya is on my list. So
Amazing.
yeah, you did a very good job showing off the country, showing off the city. So that's really good. So then that during that time, what were you doing? What were you doing, Corey? Just minding your own business.
Actually, I was working. I was working for someone.
Yeah.
By the time she came to Africa, to Kenya
Mm.
to be specific, and yeah, I was just working. Yeah.
So,
Where were
uh,
you working?
yeah. So you were working. Did you have in mind, like, were you maybe looking for a mate, or where were you in terms of relationship? I'm curious.
Actually, I wasn't like looking for a mate because I was trying to look for money. I was
Okay.
actually looking for money at that point because I was working for my former company that I used to work for.
Yeah.
We used to repair computers, sell computers accessories, networking, just things to do with computers and yeah.
Okay. So you were more focused on making money, working and getting by. Okay. That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, if you had said that you were in a relationship, it's fine. It's your story. We're sharing your story.
Yeah.
Um,
Uh-huh.
so I want to now. I want you guys to tell me about how you met. Tell me about that story. How you met. What were your initial impressions of each other?
Um, should I go first?
Yeah, ladies first.
Okay.
Uh,
So, the way I actually met him was it was our first week in Kenya,
mm,
and back in the US, we live in the country. So, we're kind of country bumpkins where we don't even live in a way at, like people in town or in cities would live, where you would lock your doors, you would
uh,
make sure everything's secure. So we were very lenient. We would leave the house and not even lock the doors. Like, we would go for a weekend and just lock the front door and the back door would be open, because like there's nobody on our 125 acres, like there's no one around. So that's how we grew up. So we came here not knowing, and lo and behold, we didn't lock our back door for one night and one night only.
oh wow.
And well, we woke up to people in our house taking our things. Um, they took all of our electronics. And so
No.
that's actually kind of how I met him. He wasn't one of the thieves, but my dad's my dad's friend gave him a laptop that needed work, because all our stuff was gone as soon as we got there. Like, he didn't have anything. So my dad's friend was like, "Here's the laptop. It needs some work, but you can use it until you buy your own." Um, and so my dad needed to take it into town, and just going to town was like such a fun experience because
Yeah.
everything was new. So I asked my dad, and I was always kind of a daddy's girl, and I was like, "Can I go to town with you and, just tag along with you as you fix your laptop?" Not knowing I was going to meet my future husband that day. But yeah, we went to town. We went to a shop that was recommended by some of the other missionaries who had lived there for a number of years. And so we went up these little steps up to a first floor, tiny little office, and there was a guy helping my dad with the laptop, and I was sitting there, but behind the guy was Koree, and he was working on a
Okay.
laptop.
Okay.
And I was like, oh my word, like he's so handsome. I just remember noticing like he had really big muscles and a very handsome face, and I was like, damn, he's handsome. And I remember going home, and I told my friend, I said that I just saw the most handsome man that I've ever seen. And
Wow.
she was another, like, she was one of the Amish Mennonite girls there. And she was like, really, Sylvia? And I was like, yeah, I just saw the most handsome man I've ever seen. Like,
Wow.
if
In
you need
Kenya.
any work done, like if you need any work done on your laptop, I know where we can go. Like, I can even ruin your laptop. We can go and get it fixed. So that was my first impression, but we never talked, not a single
Mm,
word. I didn't know whether he saw me or not, but yeah, I
yeah.
definitely noticed him. That was the first time I saw him, yeah.
Wow. So,
So
Corey, yes, go ahead. She
yes.
noticed she noticed your cute face and she noticed your muscles. That's a lot.
So
What
yeah,
happened?
it was. I can say I won't forget about that moment, because I was just doing my usual work, which is to repair people's computers that were, they had brought
Yeah.
in. So on that very very day, I I don't know, but I just saw this beautiful girl walking upstairs behind her dad,
Mm.
and we actually kept on looking at each other for like even I think it was just the whole time. I could look at her, she was looking at me, and love at first sight.
It was love at first
And
sight. Wow.
it was I at first I my heart skipped a bit, and I at that point I really wanted to see her like more and more. But I'm so glad that she was able to come back, and I was able to see her later on, and we were not even talking. Just to look at each other was just enough for us to keep uh, the love boiling. But it was, yeah, that is how it happened. Yeah.
Wow. That's amazing. So really love at first sight, but when was the time that you actually got to talk to each other, who made the first move? I want to know who called the other
Yeah,
first. Yeah.
she made the work easier for me
I
Oh,
because
made a business move. I made a business move
made
yeah,
a
it was a
business
business
move.
move.
with romantic intentions.
I love that. I love that.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
that's how it happened. We kept on, like, after that initial meet up, I had memorized his face, like I would have known him if I saw him anywhere.
Despite we all look alike. That's something that she hasn't said. Like the first time they came, it's like everyone looked alike.
Yeah, it was hard for me at first. It was like there was five different looks, and everyone kind of came in one of those categories. But then around being here for a few months, then suddenly I started seeing like, no, each person has their own. I don't know why it was that way at first. It was like everyone kind of looked the same. I'm
Yeah.
not sure why, but I would have known his face anywhere, so that stood out to me.
Mm.
Um, and we kept on seeing each other in town. Like I would be going to get groceries, and I was maybe riding the motorbike, the picky, and I would go past his workplace, and he would be walking out, and our eyes would meet. I didn't
Wow.
even know his name, but there was just whenever we would see each other, there was like these
Yeah.
sparks, and we had never talked. So I was becoming friends with a girl at the front desk where he worked. She
Mm.
was the one in charge of like phone accessories and screen protectors and things like that. So whenever I would need some of that, I would go there and hope to see him, but sometimes I would, sometimes I wouldn't, and I would get my phone fixed. And I was kind of becoming friends with her. And she followed me on Instagram, and I followed her back, And then there reached a point, it was probably a good 6 months after we first met, like
Mhm.
with my dad, that I had a phone that I wanted to sell. So I
Okay.
was like, this is my chance because he deals in laptops and phones. This is my chance to just let him know, here I am.
Wow.
This is how you can contact me. So I went to my friend's, her name is Eve. I went to her Instagram page and I was like, they work together, so they must follow each other. So she had like over 1,000 followers, but I was patient. I just scrolled and scrolled and I found him. I found him in her followers
Wow.
and I followed him. He followed me back. And then I just sent him a message and I said, I have an iPhone that I would love to sell. If you know of anyone that would want to buy it, let me know. And then he replied about a week later and he said that he doesn't have the money for it and he doesn't know any of his friends that are able to buy it right now, but he'll let me know if he finds someone. So I just said okay and I left it at that. I just wanted to come in a way that's not like, I don't know. I
Right.
wanted to do it in a classy way where it wasn't
Yeah.
like me being weird. I don't
And
know.
you
Cuz at
did.
that point I didn't know how he felt. So
Right.
I didn't know, was he married? Yeah, I didn't
Right.
know what status he had. So, yeah, I just did like that and then a week later he replied back and was like, "Hey." So I think you can take it on from there now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just to, but first of all, I just want to everyone to know how our shop looked like.
Yeah.
Downstairs, it was like it had a big entry where they had a display for different like phone covers, like phone accessories, and also the computers were downstairs, like on the ground floor. So we
Mm-hmm.
were upstairs, and most of the time when she could come, because I was upstairs most of the time, she wasn't able to see me unless
Right.
if I could be coming downstairs. That's the only moment that we could see each other. And
Okay.
even for the few times that we saw each other, it was like maybe I was out and I was like going back to up the office. I could see her standing with Eve. So
Right.
so later,
So he
like
was
this
there.
moment when,
He was there.
yes.
You couldn't see him because he was upstairs.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So yeah, I was sitting in the office as usual. Then I saw this girl coming upstairs. We had already chat on the
No, first you have to talk
Instagram.
about Instagram.
See that? Yeah, the Instagram.
You replied, hey.
Yeah.
What made you reply, hey?
Okay.
I
I
love
was
that.
I was I was nervous. I was nervous by that moment. So I couldn't say much. I was like I was so surprised, and
Yeah.
at the same time, that's the text that I was really wanting. So it happened that she came to we had talked on over the phone through text that she gonna bring some phone so that I can try to sell them for her.
Oh.
So we arranged, and when that day came, she came and she brought the phones. We talked a bit, and she left the phone with me so that I sold them for her.
So right there and then, it started with Instagram. There was a connection already, and then you took it up to your place of work. Wow, amazing. Have you
And she
ever
left me with the phone.
thought she left so she
See,
can
I
come
trusted you.
so she can come back for it to see you again?
Exactly.
That was the
Exactly.
plan. Beautiful. Wow. That is beautiful. So eventually you started talking and you started dating. And
Not really. We
not
started
really.
talking. Yeah, we started talking, and that that month they were traveling back home.
My
Okay.
grandma had passed away.
Yeah,
Oh,
so
sorry
So then
about
we
that.
switched from Instagram to WhatsApp. then we started talking a lot more on
Yeah.
WhatsApp because he wasn't on Instagram a lot back then.
Yeah. Okay.
But not the phones. Her brothers came to pick up the phones late.
After they found out.
Yeah, they
That
came
was
for the
after they
phones
found out.
because they were just about to go back home. So yeah.
Okay. Wait a
Yeah,
minute.
so
So,
you skipped over a lot there, babe.
okay, Sylvia, spill the beans. What happened?
Yeah, so after I came back from my grandma's funeral, I had
Mm.
brought him, I think I had brought him like a Ohio State T-shirt, because that's where I'm from, and I think maybe a watch or something, I forget. And so as soon as we got back, I told my mom that I'm going to go and make my nails and get a like a mani and pedicure. So I told him the salon that I'm going to and that he should meet me before I go in. I have something I want to give him. So I think that was the first time that we met up in person.
Yeah.
Wow.
And it was the first time we took a picture together. It was the first time we held hands, and I gave him the gift that I had brought for him, and we talked a little bit, maybe 15, 20 minutes. Then he had to go back to work. And I went and got my mani and pedi. And then it was kind of like the beginning of me finding excuses to go to town. And then we would meet and him finding excuses to leave work. And there was
Wow.
actually a really big park right behind his workplace, his
Mm-hmm.
work building. And so I would tell my parents, like, I want to go get some groceries or whatever the excuse of the day was. And then I would go to the park and wait for him there. And then he would tell his boss that he needs to go use the bathroom or he needs to go get lunch or something. And then we would meet in the park and talk. And his boss would be calling him, "Where are you?" And he'd be like, "See, I'm coming, I'm coming, I'm coming."
Yeah, because
But the
lunch
yes,
is
go
only
ahead.
what? Lunch is how long of a lunch did you have? Like 30 minutes?
Yeah, approximately 30 minutes.
Yeah. So you'll go
Yeah,
meet
so we would
Sylvia.
just,
Yeah,
but
go ahead.
most of the time we didn't even have hardly 30 minutes.
It was even more than 30 minutes, even
Or
more.
but a lot of times even less.
Yeah.
Sometimes
Wow.
it would be 15 minutes, 20 minutes. Because I would always be scared that someone's going to see me because nobody knew what I was doing. I was working for a mission that said that being in any type of relationship is not allowed while you work for them.
Oh
And I'm
wow.
on a mission compound with 8 or 9 other families with youth and children and people coming and going around town. Like, I was always very worried I would be caught. So we always just sat in the park and talked, and sometimes I would bring something for us to snack on and we would sit there and
Oh,
talk. And then at
cute.
night I would go home and I would we would talk late into the night after he was done at work. And I remember I had a lock on my door, and after we had thieves, my parents told us all to like lock our doors at night. So I would lock my door, and then I would place a fan in front of the door and put it on high, and I would place a towel over the fan to increase the volume. Then I would climb into the closet. I had a little, actually, it was like a little prayer closet where I had like my prayer requests up on the wall and my quotes and my Bible and verses and whatever. And I would climb in there and cover myself with a blanket, and then we would call, and sometimes we would FaceTime, sometimes we would voice call, and we would talk until 3, 4 in the morning. Like, that's how we survived those first couple years
Wow.
talking. Yeah.
So you did this for a couple of years and no one knew. Not your
It was
friend.
approximately. It was around close to a year. Close to a year.
Yeah, I shouldn't say years. It was probably a year.
A
A year
year.
that we did that. There was one friend I had there. She was actually one of the single staff. She wasn't there with her family that knew about it. I would
Mm.
tell her about it, and so she was the only other person that knew about it other than him and I. And then it happened that my parents, trying to think how they found out the first
Yeah.
time.
No, the thing that happened is, after meeting for all these months,
Mm-hmm.
it reached a point where we decided, like, both of us, like, we should just let.
That was the second time.
No, it was
Let
the
me,
first time. Like,
because after that I talked with my dad. We should have kept notes and wrote this down. The first time I got caught
You're doing very
was
well.
the first time I got caught by my family was I was texting with him during church.
Oh,
And my dad, it was after church, we were home and we actually had someone over for lunch. We were busy setting the table, getting things ready.
oh yeah.
And then he was like, he came to the kitchen and he was like, when you're a pastor, you can see what's going on in the audience. And he's like, I noticed you were on your phone a lot. He's like, is there something I should know? Like, are you texting with any guys? He just came out and asked me that.
straight.
Cuz by that time they were getting a little bit suspicious that I'm always going to town alone.
Yeah.
So, I actually lied to him. I said no. No, I was just texting with some of my friends. But if you know me very well, you know that I find it really difficult to lie. So after I lied, I ran to my friend's house after lunch was put away. And I was like, what do I do? He
Mm,
legit asked me if I'm texting with a guy. And I just lied to him. Like, how do I handle it from here? Because
mm.
by this time, they had already known about it because I had went to a Bible school. This is the
Oh,
first time we found out. I had went to a Bible school,
I love that.
and one of the native girls there um was close friends with me. We kind of clicked and we were good friends. And so during that whole 10 days of Bible school, we were not allowed to have our phones. But then
Mm,
they would give it to our phones to us like an hour in the afternoons. So I would always go out walking and I would call him and we would talk. So she kind of figured out that I'm talking with a man from Kisumu. So
mm,
she's a Kenyan, but she's part of the Mennonite church.
yeah.
Um, and so after the Bible school, by then she was now the second person that knew about him and I, other than my bestie here in Kisumu, where I was. She was from Nakuru area. So she told the pastors about it. Yeah, she said that Sylvia is talking with a Kenyan man and she knows she's not supposed to be dating, but I hear she's talking with a man. So the next time that the mission group from Nakuru came to Kisumu, we always had like once a month joint meetings where their mission came to ours because we're all working for the same mission, but we're like 6 hours apart.
Mm,
Um, so they came over and I had a feeling the whole day. I was like, this pastor is gonna bring it up to my family. Like that's what's gonna happen. And so after the meeting was over with, I went straight home. I was like, I'm not gonna stick around. I have a feeling they're gonna try to talk to me, and I just don't want that. I went home and I was the only one at home, and him and his wife came to our house and knocked on the door and they were like, we need to talk with you. I knew exactly what it was going to be about because she had went and spilled my secret.
wow.
So we talked outside and they were like, um, this is something that you're not allowed to do, and we're very disappointed in you. You're being a bad example for the youth here, and the mission doesn't need people like you. And just a lot of things were said that day that really scared me and hurt me.
Oh,
And they told me, like, are you going to talk to your parents about it? Because if you don't, then we are going to. Because we're sure they don't know about it, which they didn't. So I just told them, no, it's okay. I'll just talk to my family about it. Um, and so I was crying. I was a mess. Like, my long kept secret was out, and it was so
wow.
scary for me. If you know the pressures of a religious group, it's a
Yeah.
lot. It's a lot of pressure. And so I remember after they left, I took my phone and I deleted all our messages. I
Oh.
deleted his number and I blocked his number because I didn't want him to call me and my family see it. And I just got rid of every trace of him because I didn't want my family to be like, well, let's see what kind of messages are you having here, you
Uh,
know? So I just deleted every trace of him and blocked him. I was scared, speechless. So my family came home that evening and then I had like a talk with my mom and dad and I told them like, this is what I've been doing. This is what has happened. I'm very sorry. I've deleted his number. I blocked his number. Like, I won't do it again. I'm sorry. And so this was now a few months later. I'm trying to
wow.
think. I knew I should have
So
wrote down our story,
you did
but
not
we
talk
somehow
for
started.
months.
We
You didn't
we
communicate at all for months after that incident.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. We
Yeah.
actually we didn't communicate, and then it was probably a good month or two that he didn't know what had happened to me. He thought maybe I went back home, and it was
Mm,
like it was like a sick prank or something where I was just playing with him.
mm.
So then I me and my brother went to swim. It was Christmas Day, and we were at this swimming pool, and I saw this man with a red t-shirt on, and if you know the Ohio State colors, they're red and
Yes.
gray. I saw
Oh.
this man with a red t-shirt on and his back was facing me, and I was there getting my swimming clothes and stuff, and I was like, that really looks like Koree, but
Mm,
it can't be that he's here. Like, what if he's upset at me, or like what it like I didn't know what to do. Like, if he's here, what am I gonna do? And my brother wasn't actually right with me. I was kind of left alone there.
mhm.
Um and so I just took my stuff and went to the other side of the pool because I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, if he's
Mm,
actually here, it's Christmas Day, we're at the same pool in Kisumu, like, go figure, how did this happen? And so a little while later, I saw him, like, the eating area was kind of down and the pool was up. So he would come up the steps and he would just look all over the pool, like, look across everyone. And then he'd go back down and sit at the table. He had a laptop
wow.
there and was doing. So he did that like three times. He would come up and look over the whole pool. And I was like, he sees me. What's wrong with
Yeah.
him? Like, just come and talk already. Like, I'm here alone, obviously. You can just come and say hi at least.
But
But I'll let him talk his side of that day.
yeah, yeah, because I feel like talking. So the
Yes.
thing is, when I went, I didn't even know that she was there
Yeah.
because at that point, it was like those days that we never saw each other like for a very long time, months. So I just went. A friend of mine was there swimming. So when I got there and I went, I started doing my things. But before that, I saw this lady that
Mhm.
really looked like her.
Yeah.
So I kept.
Sylvia.
That's the reason I kept on coming, looking. I could see her sitting, looking at me. Then I go. Then I go back. I sit down again. I stand. I
So
come.
wait a
I
minute.
look.
Wait a minute. Wait.
Yes.
Let's pause there. So you saw Sylvia. So
Yeah.
what was going on in your mind? You weren't sure it was her, or you know, what was going on in your mind?
Okay. I didn't know that it was her because
Okay.
you know the Amish, the Mennonites. Their mode of dressing, the dress code. It's
Oh,
always like a full dress and a
He had never seen
head
me in a
covering.
swimsuit and
you
my
never.
hair down.
And
Oh my
yeah,
goodness. So you're like, no way, this can't be Sylvia at all.
yeah, because all my like since I first saw her up to that time, I knew like
I was just Amish,
yeah,
like
Amish.
the long dresses
Yeah.
and my hair
Oh,
tied up and everything. Yeah.
So that was the
wow.
first time to see her hair like and
Yeah.
the hair was so long.
Mhm.
It was like it was reaching, I don't know, up to around here, and she was like just you know.
I was nervous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't know exactly if it was her. So that's the reason why I kept on going up. I wanted to confirm.
He
Then
Yeah.
confirmed
finally,
like 3 times.
3 times. Then
Three
finally,
times.
then finally I saw her. Like she was telling me, "Come." Then at that point is when I knew that, yeah, that could be her. We
Wow.
went. We talked a bit. Then her brother came, and it was now time to say goodbye.
Yeah, I just told him like my brother's walking up behind you, and so I just quickly, I don't know how I did it, but I just said that oh, this guy recognizes you guys from town. And my brother was like, yeah, yeah, I think I've seen you. We come to fix our phones, and we just dodged the bullet like that. Like we just
Wow.
made that connection that they had also seen him in town. Like that's where they took their phones to be fixed and stuff. So he just thought that was the connection. Like that day, my brother didn't know this is the man that was texting with her before when we found out. So
That's
that day, my brother kind of left again.
Yeah.
And then by then I was so flustered. I was like, nah, I'm gonna go and get dressed and I'm gonna go home. Like this is too much. Like I just need
oh
to get
yeah.
out of here.
Let me ask this. Did you have
Yeah.
the opportunity to explain to Corey what happened when you met him at the
Yeah,
video?
he
Okay.
asked me, the first thing he did is he sat way over there and then he was like, "What happened?"
Right.
And I told him my parents found out, like I had to get rid of every trace of you. And he was like, "I thought you went back home. I didn't know you were even still around." So yeah, we talked about it, but then when he heard the situation I was in, he understood. Cuz he also got upset and he deleted my number.
Oh
Like he
wow.
thought I was just playing with him, like cuz I just went missing one day, went from talking and texting every day to a month where I'm or two where I'm just gone. So it also hurt him until he heard, yeah,
Wow.
what was the reason that I did that. Yeah.
Wow. That's that's quite a story right there. Um
So it was
so
after that that we started texting again.
Yeah.
Yeah, he walked me out. And then he was like, "Well, I've really missed you, and I wouldn't mind having your number." And I'm like, "Boy, bye." I told him, I said, "I just got in a whole heap of trouble, and now you want me to get in trouble again." But I also, of course, missed him. And
yeah,
so I gave him my number that day again, and we started talking.
yeah,
Like, and then now that is leading up to the story I was saying earlier, where my dad saw me texting in church. He was already suspicious because of all this other stuff that had happened a few
yeah.
months prior. So he was just confirming with me, I guess you're not texting with him again. And so I
Gotcha.
just told him, no, I lied, and then ran to my friend. And she was like, well, you can't lie to them. You have to go and tell them the truth. So she actually came back with me and we sat with my parents, and I was like, I did it again. It was so embarrassing because this is now round two. Like, I texted with him again. I met him at the pool. I didn't know he was going to be there, and I gave him my phone number. And yes, Dad, I was texting with him during church. Like, that's what was happening. And that time, I think they let me tell you because I told them I don't want to just cut him off again. So I
Yeah,
told them, let me just go and tell him bye at least. Right? Am I on the right track?
But there's a point where we kept on meeting at the park. Then we decided
mm,
like, we should just tell your parents. You remember that part? We should just let them know that we've been seeing each other, and we want to make it open to them.
Yeah.
yeah,
That was now after this last time. Like I actually they had taken my phone away.
And she was even she at that point she was not allowed to leave to come to
The
town,
house.
the
Like
house.
the second time around, they were like done. They were like, no, you can't be trusted.
And they took your phone too.
Yeah, they took my phone away. I was 23 by then, I might add. They took my phone away and I was not allowed to leave the house. And it was just cooking and cleaning on repeat. And finally I told my parents, I said, if this is the life I'm going to live here, I'd rather go back home. Like,
Mm.
I'm not happy here being trapped here because funny thing is whenever I would go out, I would go with like my parents or my brothers or someone with me, and I would always see him every time.
Wow.
Even when she was with someone, like
Yeah.
she wasn't allowed to go out alone. So each time she was with maybe another bishop's daughter, we
Hmm.
could just collide. Each time she comes out,
Like the one time I was with my family, we went out for lunch and
yeah.
we passed each other walking on the sidewalk and we weren't allowed to talk.
Talk.
And on
Wow.
the way home, I was like, I saw him. And they're like, what do you mean? We were with you the whole time. And I said, I saw him again. I saw him. Now I'm good to go. Like, I was just open that I loved him.
Yeah.
And yeah, it was
But
a while there that was really hard. But after my friend and I had talked to them, they didn't take my phone away that time. I still had my phone for a while, but then I would see like some of his updates on his statuses, and then it just kind of brought us back around. We didn't last very long the second time around before we started messaging again. And then yeah, it was after that that we would be like now meeting in the park talking, and then we finally decided like we're just going to tell them,
yeah.
like, we're not going to wait for them to find out again. And we just kind of used that time, the second time I got caught, to kind of get to know each other better and know, like, is this something we want to do going forward?
Mm.
And so the more we sat in the park and talked, the more we talked late night in the closet, the more we laid a foundation that we knew we wanted to fight for each other, because I told him, once I tell them that this is what I want, it's going to be bad. And so I need to make sure that we're strong
Yeah.
to be able to go through whatever is coming up. So finally, I told my dad I want to go out with for supper with him. I wanted to make it official. I wanted to make it big so that
Yeah.
he knows I'm serious. And I'm
Yeah.
not a child to be caught and to have to cry and apologize for talking to a man. I'm an adult who has made a decision. So I took my dad out. We went out for supper and I told him that I'm here to tell you that I'm still talking with Koree. And I'm not here to apologize about it or cry or delete his number like I have done in the past. But I'm here to say that I'm sorry for hiding it all this
Mm.
while and causing this drama, but I'm not sorry for loving him. And this is what I want.
Oh. Oh my God. My heart.
So,
Woo! That's so
so
beautiful.
my dad was scared. He was scared at first, but then he just told me, he said, obviously, this is not what we would like for you. We don't know this man. He's not a part of our church groups. We don't know what he believes.
Mm.
He said, I have no problem with you being in love with a Kenyan, but doing it behind our back, seeing a
Mm.
man that we don't know or trust, that's where I have a problem. And he said that he would rather, I remember he told me that day, he said, I would rather you tell me what's going on and I be able to be on board than to
Mm.
just shun everything you're doing and miss out on my daughter's life.
Oh,
And he told
that's
me that he just feels proud that I was comfortable enough with him to tell him this, and he wants to be included on this journey, whatever it is.
oh my goodness. Wow. So what a response from a father. And
Yeah, he
knowing
was.
knowing the background that you came from, the Mennonites, all the rules and all those principles that you have to abide with, that was just beautiful from your father.
Yeah, for sure. My dad had an amazing response. And I was pretty excited after that talk we had. And I went home and I was telling Koree, like, it went so well. And I told my dad everything, and I told him I'm not sorry that I'm in love with you. And Koree was excited, and he's like, well, maybe I can meet him now, and maybe we can be official. And we were all excited. But my mom didn't take it as well.
Mm.
Um, it was really, really hard on her. And the next morning, like, she was crying, and I felt so bad, and I didn't know what to do. But it was just really, really hard on her. She just did not like what I was doing. And so it was like that for a few days, where I was still talking with him, and my family now knew
Yeah.
what had happened. And there was a lot of tension in the
Mm.
family. Like, my brothers were also kind of upset with me, and it was just bad, bad vibes. And my dad was like, I'm with a mission where I try to live by their rules. I try to follow what they want us to do. And he said, yet I have a daughter who's back here in her bedroom talking with a Kenyan man, and you guys are basically dating. And I feel like I'm not supporting the mission by
Mm.
allowing this. And he said, I don't know how to go ahead with it. Like, I don't
Mm.
know where to go from here, because you're not willing to let go of it. And so now we need to see what to do from here. Um, and he was like, I think I'm going to talk to the rest of the pastors here
Mm.
on our compound and see what they say about it. Well, a few months earlier, one of the single staff girls had been sent home just for like drama, like relationship drama, but not like romantic relationships, like problems. She had been booted home, like, just because of issues within the group. And so I
Mm.
was like, there's no way I'll be booted. Like, there's no way I'll be able to stay here. And then that was during that time that my phone was taken away, and I was locked in the house. And every time I'd go out, I would see him, and it was just wild. But I told my dad, I said, I would rather make the decision on my own that I'm going to go
Mm.
home. I don't want to be sent home. I want to go home with some dignity left,
Yeah.
because this mission has been going for over 30 years, and there's never been a cross cultural couple. We're the first. So it was
Wow.
a big deal.
It was a big deal. Yeah.
Very much so. Like, after he told the pastors, the whole mood shifted. Like, I was the outsider, basically.
Mm.
The
Mm.
rebel, the one
Mm.
who's not obedient, the one who's going against the mission policies.
Yeah.
So I just told my dad, I want to go home. Please just let me go home. I don't want
Mm.
to keep on living like this, being stuck at home, and everybody knowing about it. And so they told, it was about a year left in their term of service. So I told him it was the day that I was flying out. I said, can I, because I was telling everybody goodbye, but I
Yeah.
wasn't telling him goodbye. And they still had my phone at that point. And I
Mm.
was like, can I please go tell the most important person in my life goodbye? Like, I told him I don't
Oh.
want to go and hide, but I asked him, would you please go with me so that I can
Mhm.
go and tell him goodbye? Because I don't know if I'll ever see him again. And so my dad was like, well, you're putting me in a hard position, because I'm not supposed to be supporting this. So I can't go with you and do that. And then I
Oh.
asked him, well, would you release me then as a 23-year-old to go and
Mm.
tell him goodbye on my own? And so he said, you can go with one of your friends, but he said, I don't give you my blessing, but I release you. He was trying to do it in the best way, where he wasn't going against the mission,
That's
but he
right.
also wanted me to have that moment. So I ran with it. I said, you keep your blessing. I'm going to run. I'll be back.
I'll be
So
right
I took,
back.
yes. So I took my friend, and we went to his workplace, and they said he was over at the other office. And I remember I pulled in with the mission vehicle and jumped out, and he was shocked to see me.
Mm.
And then we kind of went to a restaurant. I don't know. Were you at work that day? Probably.
Yeah, I was. So, just to add something that maybe she didn't mention, she
Mm.
introduced me to one of the branches of the church that she goes.
Hmm.
So, it was close to a month that I was going to that church, and I remember the last Sunday when she was supposed to travel to fly back home because of all this thing. They came to our church,
Hmm.
but she came. No, her and her brother, they came to our church. We had a service there. Then that week is when she again came to where, now not exactly where we first met, but we
Mm-hmm.
had like two, the main office and a branch of that office just within town. So
Mm.
when she came to the other office, she never found me there. So she came to this other branch now, and that's where she found me. And
Yeah.
it was just a new branch that we had just started, and it wasn't doing so good. We didn't have like clients in terms of
Right.
computer repair. Maybe selling like we could sell accessories like computer accessories and phone accessories. So she came with her two friends, a lady and a guy. So we left. We went to a certain hotel. We went there. She wasn't allowed to walk alone. So we went to this hotel called Acacia Hotel, one of the five-star hotel that
Mm.
it's located within Kisumu town. So we were there, we talked, and that
And
was
the two friends I brought, they were Kenyans.
yeah.
They were not from the missionaries.
Gotcha.
So
Yeah.
they kind of gave us space. They went and sat somewhere else and gave us space, and we got to talk that day. And I was like, I'm going home this evening. I'm flying out of Nairobi. I don't know if I'll ever see you again, but I would love
Mm.
to stay in contact and see if we can make this work. If my family can get on board, if you don't give up on me, like there was a lot of ifs, but
Mm.
we just kind of talked things through quickly. And he was like, so this is the last time I'm going to see you until Lord knows. I don't know. And I was like, yeah, I don't know either. I'm heading back. Yeah.
I feel like this is so beautiful. Like, just, you guys were meant to be. You were really meant to be. And I feel like you can make a movie out of this. Like, I feel like it's one of the most beautiful stories. Really show that you were determined. Like, your love was so strong that you were willing to, even if I go back to the United States, please remember me. What Sylvia was saying, you were really determined, loving each other. That is just so beautiful. And I feel like someone can make a movie out of this. I hope
Yeah.
I hope somebody's watching, somebody's listening. But it's so beautiful. What a beautiful love story. Um, I'm glad that you really went into the details of it. I And you know what? You went through a lot. You really went through a lot. I had a question here. How was your dating and courtship? I was thinking about it will be all flowery, but you really went through a lot, and I'm glad that at the end of the day, things worked out for you. The both of you, because um,
Mhm.
it was meant to be.
Right.
Um, so of course your dating experience was really was complicated, but I want to know, when was that time that your father finally said, or your father and your mother said, you know what, she loves this man, let's release her and let's give her our blessing.